The crowd roars as you step onto the burning sand of Olympia, completely naked. Your body already scarred from months of brutal training that would kill most modern athletes. The year is 456 BC, and you're about to compete in the most dangerous sporting event in human history. Forget everything you think you know about the Olympics. There are no drug tests here, no safety regulations, and definitely no participation medals. In ancient Greece, Olympic competition meant one simple truth: win glory or die trying. The sanctuary of Olympia spreads before you like a vision from the gods themselves. But as you walk barefoot across the sacred ground, every step reminds you of the brutal reality that awaits. The burning sand beneath your feet is stained with the blood of countless athletes who came before you, their dreams of Olympic victory ending in injury, humiliation, or death. You are not here as a tourist or spectator. You are a competitor in the Olympic Games, a festival that honors Zeus, king of the gods. And you've spent the better part of a year preparing for this moment. Your body bears the evidence of that preparation. Scars from training accidents, calluses thick as leather, muscles developed through methods that would horrify modern sports scientists. The Olympic Games of ancient Greece were nothing like the sanitized spectacle we know today. There were no corporate sponsors offering million-dollar endorsements, no medical teams standing by with oxygen and stretchers, no safety regulations to protect athletes from themselves or their competitors. There was only the sacred oath you swore to Zeus, to compete with honor, to give everything you had, and to accept whatever fate the gods decreed. As you make your way through the crowds gathering for the games, you pass the Altes, the sacred grove where the most important temples stand. The temple of Zeus looms above everything else, its massive columns casting shadows that seem to reach out like fingers. Inside that temple stands one of the 7 wonders of the world, the golden and ivory statue of Zeus, created by the master sculptor Phidias. The god's eyes seem to follow you as you pass, and you offer a silent prayer that he will look favorably on your efforts. But even as you pray, you know that Zeus is not a gentle deity. He is the god of thunder and lightning, of power and dominance. He does not reward the meek or the cautious. In his games, only the strong survive, and only the strongest achieve the kind of immortal glory that makes a man's name echo through the ages. The other athletes around you represent the finest physical specimens from across the Greek world. They come from Athens and Sparta, from the colonies in Sicily, and the settlements on the Black Sea, from wealthy families who could afford the months of training and poor families who see athletic success as their only path to a better life. What unites them all is the same desperate hunger for victory that burns in your own chest. You recognize some faces from previous competitions, men who've achieved fame in regional games, who've already proven themselves in the brutal world of Greek athletics. Their bodies tell stories of countless hours of training, of victories won and defeats suffered, of the endless pursuit of physical perfection that defines the life of a serious athlete. But you also see the newcomers, young men like yourself who've come to Olympia with dreams of glory and little understanding of what those dreams will cost them. Some of them still have the soft look of youth, unmarked by the scars that veteran competitors wear like badges of honor. They will learn soon enough what it truly means to compete at the highest level of Greek athletics. The heat is already oppressive, even though the sun has barely begun its journey across the sky. Olympic competitions are held in the height of summer, when the temperatures in the Peloponnese can soar above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You will compete in this heat, naked and exposed, with no protection from the sun except whatever olive oil you can rub into your skin. Water is scarce and jealously guarded. The organizers provide minimal refreshment for competitors, believing that luxury weakens the spirit and detracts from the purity of athletic competition. You've learned to function on less water than you would prefer, to ignore the constant thirst that becomes your companion during training and competition. As you settle into your assigned quarters, a simple tent in the compound reserved for athletes, you begin the final preparations for competition. Your equipment is minimal. Leather strips to wrap around your hands for boxing or pankration. Perhaps a light javelin if you're competing in the pentathlon. Unlike modern Olympics, where athletes rely on sophisticated gear and technology, ancient Greek competition stripped everything down to its most essential elements: human bodies testing themselves against other human bodies, with only the most basic tools to assist them. Tonight you will sleep fitfully, haunted by the knowledge that tomorrow will bring the ultimate test of everything you've worked for. Around you, other athletes are going through their own rituals. Some praying to their patron gods, others reviewing techniques taught by their trainers, a few simply staring into the darkness and contemplating their mortality. The Olympic Games are not just a sporting competition. They are a religious festival, a political statement, and a test of human endurance all rolled into one. Victory will bring you wealth, status, and the kind of fame that can transform a man's entire life. Defeat will bring shame, poverty, and the bitter knowledge that years of sacrifice have been wasted. But for now, in the quiet hours before dawn, you are simply another athlete preparing for the greatest challenge of your life, trying to calm your nerves and conserve your strength for the battles ahead. Your journey to these games began not with a decision, but with a recognition. In your hometown of Aegina, a small island in the Sarenic Gulf, you were noticed by a trainer named Menander while competing in local festivals. You were 15 then, tall for your age and naturally athletic, but with no understanding of what athletic excellence truly required. Menander was a former Olympic competitor himself, a boxer, who had won twice at Olympia before a particularly brutal fight left him with damaged hands and a broken nose that never healed properly. He made his living now training young men who showed promise, taking a percentage of any prize money they earned and basking in reflected glory when his students achieved success. "You have natural ability," he told you after watching you win a foot race against older competitors. But natural ability without proper training is like a sword without a blade. Impressive to look at, but useless in battle. The training regimen he prescribed would have horrified modern coaches. You began each day before dawn with a run along the rocky coastline of Aegina, your feet growing hard and calloused on the sharp stones. The pain was considered beneficial. Soft feet were a sign of weakness, and weakness had no place in serious athletic training. After the morning run came wrestling practice, conducted on sand that was deliberately kept rough and abrasive. You learned to grapple with opponents who were stronger, more experienced, and often deliberately brutal in their techniques. Menander encouraged this brutality, believing that competition was a form of warfare where mercy was a luxury that led to defeat. In the Olympics, he would tell you as you nursed bruises and cuts from training, your opponent will try to break your bones, tear your muscles, and crush your spirit. If you cannot handle rough treatment in practice, you will be destroyed. In actual competition, the diet he prescribed was equally harsh by modern standards. Meat was expensive and reserved for special occasions or the final weeks before major competitions. Most of your nutrition came from barley cakes, dried figs, fresh and dried cheese, and olive oil. Water was mixed with wine even during training, as pure water was considered potentially harmful to athletes preparing for competition. But perhaps the most challenging aspect of your preparation was the psychological conditioning. Menander believed that mental toughness was more important than physical strength, and he designed exercises specifically to test your ability to endure pain, humiliation, and exhaustion without breaking down. He would make you run until you collapsed, then force you to get up and continue running. He would have larger students beat you in wrestling matches, then criticize your technique and demand that you immediately face another opponent. He would deprive you of food and water for days at a time, claiming that Olympic competition required the ability to function even when your body was screaming. For relief, champions are not born. He would remind you during these sessions. They are forged through suffering that ordinary men cannot endure. Every moment of pain you experience now is preparing you for the pain you will face at Olympia. The social aspects of training were equally demanding. As a serious athlete, you were expected to dedicate your entire life to physical preparation. You could not hold a regular job, could not marry or start a family, could not pursue education, or other interests that might distract from your athletic development. Your family supported this dedication, understanding that Olympic success could bring wealth and status that would benefit everyone connected to you. But this single-minded focus came at a cost. You watched friends your age begin their adult lives, starting businesses, marrying, having children, participating in the civic life of your community. You remained frozen in a kind of extended adolescence. Your entire identity built around your potential for athletic achievement. The financial burden was enormous. Training required not just time, but money. For food, equipment, travel to competitions, and payments to your trainer. Your family sacrificed to support your athletic career, selling property and borrowing money, against the hope that your eventual success would compensate for their investment. Regional competitions provided opportunities to test your skills against other serious athletes, but they also expose you to the realities of high-level competition. You saw talented young men crippled by injuries that ended their careers before they really began. You witnessed the bitter disappointment of athletes who had invested everything in their training only to discover that their best efforts were not quite good enough. But you also experienced the intoxicating rush of victory. The crowds chanting your name, the wreaths and prizes that came with success. These moments of triumph sustained you through the pain and doubt, convincing you that the sacrifices were worthwhile and that Olympic glory was within your reach. By the time you qualified for the Olympics, a process that itself required victories in designated regional games, you had been training seriously for 4 years. Your body had been transformed from that of a normal young man into something resembling a living weapon, hardened by constant exercise and conditioned to endure levels of physical stress that would incapacitate ordinary people. But as you made the journey to Olympia, traveling by ship and on foot with other athletes from your region, you began to understand that qualification was only the beginning. The Olympics would test not just your athletic ability, but your character, your courage, and your willingness to risk everything for the chance at immortal glory. The closer you got to Olympia, the more nervous you became. The stories you heard from veteran competitors were not reassuring. Tales of athletes who died during competition, of careers ended by single moments of carelessness, of the crushing psychological pressure that destroyed some competitors before they even reached the starting line. 1 month before the games officially begin, you arrive at Olympia for the mandatory training period that all competitors must complete. This is where the Olympic organizers separate the serious athletes from the dreamers, where bodies are pushed to their absolute limits, and where many competitors realize that they are not ready for the level of competition they're about to face. The training facilities at Olympia are impressive by ancient standards, but would seem primitive by modern measures. The gymnasium is a large, open courtyard surrounded by covered walkways where athletes can practice in the shade. The palestra is a smaller, square building designed specifically for wrestling and boxing practice. Both facilities are dusty, poorly ventilated, and filled with the smell of sweat, olive oil, and blood. Your training schedule begins before sunrise and continues until late evening, with only brief breaks for meals and rest. The Olympic officials who supervise this training are former athletes themselves, men who understand exactly what level of preparation is required for success at the Games. They are not interested in being encouraging or supportive. Their job is to identify weaknesses and eliminate them through brutal, focused practice. The first shock is the level of competition around you. Every athlete here has already proven himself in regional games, has already demonstrated the kind of ability that sets him apart from ordinary competitors. You are no longer competing against local rivals or regional champions. You are surrounded by the finest athletes in the Greek world. Men who have dedicated their lives to achieving physical perfection. Your specific event is the Stadion, the shortest and most prestigious foot race in the Olympics. At roughly 200 meters, it requires explosive speed and perfect technique. The race is run on a straight track, with athletes starting from stone starting blocks and sprinting to a finish line marked by a wooden post. There are no lanes, no rules about maintaining position, and no restrictions on contact between runners. The training for this event focuses on starts, which are crucial for success. You spend hours practicing the crouch that allows for maximum acceleration from the starting blocks, learning to explode forward at the exact moment the starting signal is given. The timing has to be perfect. Start too early and you'll be disqualified. Start too late and you'll be buried behind other runners who may deliberately impede your progress. But technique is only part of the preparation. Your trainer, now working under the supervision of Olympic officials, subjects you to a conditioning program that pushes your body to its absolute limits. Sprint intervals in the blazing heat, with minimal rest between efforts. Long runs in the mountains surrounding Olympia, designed to build the endurance that will serve you when the pressure of competition makes your body want to quit. Strength. Training focuses on exercises that directly translate to sprinting performance. You practice starts while carrying weights to make your normal start feel effortless in comparison. You sprint uphill and downhill, learning to maintain form and speed regardless of conditions. You practice racing while exhausted, learning to compete effectively even when your body is crying out for rest. The psychological preparation is equally intense. Olympic officials deliberately create stressful situations designed to test your mental toughness. They change training schedules without notice, forcing you to adapt quickly to new demands. They criticize your technique harshly and publicly, testing your ability to handle pressure and negative feedback. They create artificial competitions between athletes, fostering the kind of intense rivalry that will characterize actual Olympic events. The diet during this training period is strictly controlled and deliberately austere. The Olympic organizers believe that luxury weakens athletes and that hunger sharpens competitive instincts. You receive basic rations, barley bread, olive oil, dried fruit, and small amounts of cheese. Meat is provided only occasionally, and water is limited to prevent what the organizers believe are the softening effects of overhydration. Medical care during training is minimal and primarily focused on treating injuries that might prevent competition rather than promoting overall health and recovery. Athletes who suffer serious injuries are expected to either train through the pain or withdraw from competition entirely. The Olympic physicians are more concerned with identifying athletes who might be using performance-enhancing substances, mainly wine and certain herbs, than with providing modern-style sports medicine. Sleep is limited and deliberately uncomfortable. Athletes are housed in basic tents with minimal bedding, exposed to heat, cold, and insects. The discomfort is considered beneficial, preparing competitors for the physical stress they'll experience. During the games themselves, privacy is non-existent, with athletes constantly observed by officials and fellow competitors. The social dynamics during this training period are complex and often hostile. You are surrounded by men who will be your direct competitors, who will try to defeat you in races where fractions of seconds determine the difference between glory and anonymity. Friendships are rare and alliances are temporary, based on immediate tactical advantages rather than genuine personal connections. Some athletes attempt to intimidate their competitors through displays of speed or strength during training. Others try psychological warfare, spreading rumors about competitors' injuries or weaknesses. A few attempt actual sabotage, damaging equipment, or creating distractions during crucial practice sessions. But perhaps the most challenging aspect of this training period is the constant awareness that you are being evaluated not just by officials, but by spectators who are already arriving for the games. Wealthy Greeks who sponsor athletes are watching to see who might be worth supporting. Gambling syndicates are assessing odds and identifying athletes who might be persuaded to fix races. Political figures are considering which victories might be useful for their own purposes. The pressure is enormous and constant. Every training session is a performance. Every meal is an opportunity for psychological warfare. Every night's sleep is haunted by the knowledge that your entire life's work will be judged in a few brief moments of competition. As the official training period nears its end, you begin to understand why so many promising athletes withdraw from Olympic competition before the games actually begin. The physical demands are brutal, but the psychological stress is even more challenging. You are not just preparing to run fast. You are preparing to perform under pressure that few modern athletes can imagine. The Olympic Games officially begin with a ceremony that combines religious ritual with psychological warfare. Athletes, trainers, and officials gather at the Bouleuterion, the council house where the Olympic governing body meets to swear sacred oaths before a statue of Zeus. The oaths are not the inspiring declarations of fair play that characterize modern Olympics. They are blood-curdling promises to compete without mercy and to accept whatever fate the gods decree. I swear by Zeus, king of the gods, you declare, along with your fellow competitors, that I have trained for 10 months, that I will compete with honor, and that I will accept victory or defeat as divine judgment of my worthiness. The oath continues with specific promises not to cheat, not to bribe officials, and not to kill opponents deliberately, though accidental deaths during competition are considered acceptable and even expected. The atmosphere as you take this oath is charged with tension and barely controlled aggression. The athletes around you are no longer the training partners of the past month. They are enemies who will try to destroy your dreams of Olympic glory. Their eyes are cold and calculating, their bodies tense with anticipation for the battles ahead. The religious aspects of the games are deeply serious and intensely personal. Each athlete has made private sacrifices to his patron gods, asking for protection, strength, and victory. Some have promised elaborate offerings if they succeed. Others have pledged years of service at temples. The gods are not distant figures to be honored with token gestures. They are active participants in the competition, whose favor can mean the difference between triumph and disaster. Your event, the Stadion, is scheduled for the second day of competition, but you must first endure the opening ceremonies and preliminary events that set the tone for everything that follows. The first day features the chariot races, the most spectacular and dangerous events in the Olympic program. Chariot racing combines the skills of horse breeding, vehicle engineering, and human courage in a contest that regularly produces multiple casualties. The hippodrome where these races are held stretches for over 400 meters, with sharp turns at each end that favor experienced drivers and punish the reckless or unlucky. The chariots themselves are light, fast vehicles designed for speed rather than safety, capable of reaching dangerous speeds, but prone to spectacular crashes. You watch from the stands as teams of horses thunder around the track, their drivers standing precariously in bouncing chariots, using whips and voice commands to maintain control. The sound is overwhelming, pounding hooves, creaking wood, shouting drivers, and screaming spectators. The dust kicked up by dozens of horses creates a choking cloud that makes visibility poor and breathing difficult. The crashes, when they come, are horrifying and fascinating in equal measure. Chariots collide at high speed, sending drivers flying through the air and horses tumbling in tangles of harnesses and broken wood. Some drivers are killed instantly, Others are trampled by following chariots that cannot stop in time to avoid the wreckage. The races continue around the fallen, their bodies cleared away by slaves during brief intervals between heats. But for races continue around the fallen, their bodies cleared away by slaves during brief intervals between heats. But for every crash, there are moments of incredible skill and courage. You see drivers maintain control of terrified horses while their chariots balance on two wheels around tight turns. You watch teams recover from near disasters, their drivers using pure strength and will to prevent accidents that seem inevitable. The winners are not just skilled athletes, they are survivors who have conquered fear and chaos through superior preparation and unshakable nerve. The crowd's reaction to these events teaches you important lessons about Olympic competition. Spectators do not simply want to see good performances. They want to see drama, conflict, and the kind of extraordinary human achievement that borders on the supernatural. They cheer loudest not for safe, technical victories, but for dramatic comebacks, spectacular crashes, and displays of courage that defy rational explanation. Boxing and wrestling events provide additional insights into what Olympic competition really means. These are not the regulated, safety-conscious sports of modern times. They are barely controlled fights where serious injury is expected, and death is always possible. Boxers wrap their hands in leather strips that are designed not to protect their hands, but to make their punches more devastating. Wrestlers compete without weight classes, so smaller men regularly face opponents who outweigh them by 50 pounds or more. The rules in these combat sports are minimal and primarily focused on preventing the most egregious forms of cheating rather than protecting competitors from injury. In wrestling, you cannot bite or gouge eyes, but everything else is legal, including techniques that modern martial artists would consider too dangerous for training, let alone competition. Boxers cannot grab their opponents or hit them while they're down, but they can punch with full force until one fighter is unconscious or unable to continue. You watch men emerge from these contests with broken bones, missing teeth, and wounds that will leave permanent scars. Some competitors are carried from the arena unconscious. Their athletic careers ended in a few minutes of brutal combat. Others achieve victory through sheer endurance, continuing to fight long after their bodies should have surrendered. But the most revealing aspect of these combat sports is the attitude of the competitors themselves. They show no fear, no hesitation, and no mercy. They have trained, not just to win but to dominate, to inflict enough damage on their opponents that victory becomes inevitable. The concept of fighting for sport, rather than survival, has no meaning in this context. Every contest is a battle where only the strongest and most ruthless can succeed. As your own competition approaches, you begin to understand that the stadium race, despite being the shortest event in the Olympics, will be equally brutal in its own way. The 200-meter distance may seem manageable, but it must be run at absolute maximum speed, with no opportunity to pace yourself or recover from mistakes. The race will be over in less than 30 seconds, but those 30 seconds will test every aspect of your preparation and character. The psychological pressure builds steadily as your event draws near. You can feel the attention of spectators, trainers, and fellow athletes focusing on the sprint competition. Bets are being placed, strategies are being discussed, and reputations are being staked on outcomes that will be determined by fractions of seconds. The training methods that have prepared you for Olympic competition are based not on modern sports science, but on centuries of accumulated knowledge about how to push the human body beyond its normal limits. Your trainers learned their techniques from previous generations of athletes and coaches, creating a tradition of physical preparation that prioritizes results over safety and performance over long-term health. The foundation of ancient Greek athletic training is the concept of agon, struggle or contest, which views all physical preparation as a form of controlled warfare. Every training session is designed to simulate the stress, pressure, and physical demands that you will face. In actual competition, the idea of training for general fitness or health is completely foreign. You train specifically to win Olympic events, and everything else is considered a distraction. Your daily training routine begins before dawn with exercises designed to prepare your body for maximum effort. The warm-up consists of light running combined with dynamic stretching movements that would be familiar to modern athletes, though performed with much greater intensity and for longer duration. The Greeks understand that cold muscles are more prone to injury, but they also believe that comfort and gradual progression lead to softness and weakness. Sprint training focuses on developing what modern coaches would call anaerobic power, the ability to generate maximum speed for short periods. Your practice starts from the stone blocks repeatedly, working to shave fractions of seconds off your reaction time and initial acceleration. The training surface is deliberately rough and uneven, forcing you to develop balance and adaptability that will serve you when competition conditions are less than perfect. Interval training involves repeated sprints at race pace with minimal recovery between efforts. The theory is that if you can maintain top speed while exhausted, you will be unstoppable when fresh and rested. These sessions are physically agonizing, pushing you past the point where your muscles are screaming for oxygen and your nervous system is demanding rest. Strength training for sprinters emphasizes exercises that directly transfer to running performance. Your practice starts while wearing lead weights around your ankles, making your unweighted starts feel effortless by comparison. You sprint uphill carrying sandbags, developing the leg strength necessary to generate maximum power with each stride. You perform jumping exercises with weights, building the explosive power that translates directly to sprinting speed. The diet prescribed by your trainers is based on ancient theories about how different foods affect athletic performance. Meat is considered heating and energizing, appropriate for athletes who need maximum power output. Barley is thought to provide sustained energy without the digestive burden of heavier foods. Olive oil serves both nutritional and medicinal purposes, believed to lubricate joints and muscles while providing essential fats. But the ancient Greek approach to nutrition also includes practices that modern sports scientists would consider dangerous or counterproductive. Water intake is deliberately limited based on the belief that excessive hydration weakens the body and dilutes the blood. Wine is mixed with water and consumed during training based on theories about its ability to thin the blood and improve circulation. Certain foods are forbidden entirely during intensive training periods. Fish is considered too cooling for athletes who need maximum heat and energy. Fresh fruits are limited because their high water content is thought to cause weakness. Dairy products beyond small amounts of cheese are avoided based on beliefs about their effects on digestion and respiratory function. Recovery methods focus on techniques for maintaining training intensity rather than promoting healing and adaptation. Ice baths, massage, and extended rest periods are unknown. Recovery consists mainly of light activity designed to prevent muscles from stiffening. The concept of periodization, where training intensity is varied to allow for adaptation and recovery, is completely foreign to ancient Greek coaching philosophy. Medical care for athletes is limited and focused primarily on treating acute injuries rather than preventing long-term damage. Bone setting for fractures is reasonably advanced, but understanding of soft tissue injuries, concussions, and overuse problems is minimal. Athletes are expected to train through pain that modern sports medicine would recognize as warning signs of serious injury. Massage therapy exists, but is performed primarily to prepare athletes for training or competition, rather than to aid recovery. The techniques are aggressive and often painful, designed to warm muscles and increase circulation rather than to promote relaxation. Oils and ointments are used more for their supposed performance-enhancing properties than for any therapeutic benefit. The psychological preparation methods used by ancient Greek trainers would be considered extreme by modern standards. Deliberate exposure to stress, pain, and discomfort is considered essential for developing the mental toughness necessary for Olympic success. Athletes are subjected to verbal abuse, physical discomfort, and artificial pressure designed to test their ability to perform under adverse conditions. Visualization techniques involve imagining victory scenarios, but also preparing mentally for the physical pain and emotional pressure of competition. You are taught to embrace suffering as a necessary part of athletic achievement, to view pain as evidence that you are pushing yourself hard enough to improve. Competition simulation involves creating training scenarios that are actually more difficult than the competitions themselves. You practice racing while dehydrated, exhausted, and under intense scrutiny from trainers and observers. The theory is that if you can perform well under these artificial stresses, actual competition will feel manageable by comparison. Sleep patterns are deliberately disrupted during certain training phases, based on the belief that athletes must be able to perform regardless of their physical state. You learn to function on minimal sleep, to maintain concentration when your body is demanding rest, and to generate maximum effort even when your nervous system is compromised by fatigue. The cumulative effect of these training methods is to create athletes who are incredibly tough, focused, and capable of extraordinary performances under pressure, but the cost is enormous. High injury rates, shortened competitive careers, and long-term health problems that will affect you for the rest of your life. As you prepare for your Olympic competition, you understand that your body has been transformed into something that resembles a weapon more than a normal human physique. You can generate speeds and power outputs that would be impossible without years of specialized preparation. But you can also barely function outside the narrow parameters of athletic performance. The morning of your competition arrives with the oppressive heat that characterizes summer in the Peloponnese. Even before sunrise, the temperature is already climbing toward levels that will test your body's ability to regulate heat while generating maximum power output. The dust kicked up by thousands of spectators hangs in the air, creating a choking haze that makes breathing difficult and visibility poor. You wake not from peaceful sleep, but from the fitful dozing that has become normal. During competition periods, your nervous system is too activated for deep rest. Your mind too focused on the approaching race to allow genuine relaxation. Around you in the athletes' quarters, other competitors are going through their own pre-competition rituals. Some praying quietly to their patron gods, others reviewing racing tactics with their trainers. The pre-race meal is sparse and carefully chosen. A small portion of honeyed barley cake provides quick energy without the digestive burden of heavier foods. A few dried figs add natural sugars that will fuel your muscles during the intense, brief effort ahead. A small amount of diluted wine is supposed to thin your blood and improve circulation. Though you're not sure whether the effect is real or psychological, your trainer, Menander, begins the physical preparation that will ready your body for maximum performance. The process starts with a thorough massage using olive oil mixed with aromatic herbs. The oil serves multiple purposes, lubricating your skin to reduce friction during movement, providing a barrier against the sun's heat, and supposedly carrying medicinal properties that will enhance your performance. The massage itself is aggressive and sometimes painful, designed to warm muscles and increase circulation rather than provide relaxation. Menander works systematically from your feet to your head, using techniques passed down through generations of athletic trainers. He pays special attention to your legs and lower back, the muscle groups that will generate the power necessary for sprinting success. As spectators begin gathering around the stadium, you can hear the rising buzz of excitement and anticipation. The crowd for Olympic track events can reach 40,000 people, more than the population of most Greek cities. They come not just from the Greek mainland, but from colonies throughout the Mediterranean. From wealthy aristocrats who sponsor athletes to common citizens who have saved for months to witness the greatest sporting spectacle in the world. But this is not a supportive, encouraging crowd. Olympic spectators are knowledgeable, critical, and quick to express their displeasure when athletes fail to meet their expectations. They bet heavily on race outcomes and have no patience for competitors who don't provide the kind of dramatic, high-quality performances that justify their investment of time and money. The psychological pressure created by this crowd is intense and deliberate. Olympic organizers understand that great performances require great pressure, that athletes perform best when the stakes are highest and the consequences of failure are most severe. The crowd becomes part of the competition itself, a factor that can inspire extraordinary efforts or crush athletes who cannot handle the stress. Your fellow competitors in the stadium represent the finest sprinters in the Greek world, men who have dedicated years of their lives to running 200 meters faster than anyone else alive. You recognize most of them from regional competitions and training camps. But Olympic competition transforms familiar rivals into something approaching enemies. There's Cleomens of Sparta, whose military-style training has produced the kind of explosive speed and tactical intelligence that characterizes Spartan athletes. His body is a study in functional strength. No wasted muscle mass, no unnecessary bulk. Just the precise combination of power and speed necessary for sprinting excellence. Diagoras of Rhodes brings the wealth and resources of one of Greece's most prosperous islands. His training has been supported by the finest coaches, the best equipment, and nutritional advantages that most competitors cannot afford. But wealth alone cannot purchase the courage and determination necessary for Olympic success. Astylos of Croton has already won Olympic victories in previous games, giving him the kind of confidence and experience that can be decisive when races are decided by fractions of seconds. He knows what it feels like to perform under ultimate pressure, understands how to manage his energy and emotions during the crucial moments when everything is decided. Each competitor brings his own approach to sprinting strategy. Some rely on explosive starts, hoping to build leads that they can maintain through superior technique and conditioning. Others prefer to stay close through the early stages and then unleash finishing kicks that overwhelm their competitors in the final meters. The track itself is a straight 200-meter course carved into the natural slope of the stadium. The surface is packed earth mixed with sand, providing good traction when dry but becoming treacherous when wet. There are no lanes, so positioning strategy becomes crucial. Athletes must balance the advantages of inside positions against the risks of being boxed in by other runners. The starting line is marked by a stone sill with grooves cut to accommodate competitors' toes. This starting mechanism allows for precise, simultaneous starts while preventing the false starts that could compromise the integrity of competition. Officials watch carefully for any movement before the starting signal and penalties for early starts are immediate and severe. As you take your position for the preliminary heat that will determine whether you advance to the final, you can feel your heart rate climbing toward levels that would concern modern sports physicians. Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. As your nervous system prepares for maximum effort, the crowd noise fades into a dull roar as your attention narrows to focus exclusively on the tactical and physical demands ahead. The other athletes in your heat appear equally ready, their bodies gleaming with oil and sweat, their faces set in expressions of grim determination. There will be no friendly conversation or mutual encouragement. Everyone understands that only the fastest qualifiers will advance, and that friendships have no place in Olympic competition. The official raises his arm to signal the approaching start, and you make the final adjustments to your position and mental preparation. Years of training, months of sacrifice, and a lifetime of dreams are about to be decided in less than 30 seconds of all-out effort. The moment you have trained for, suffered for, and dreamed about is finally at hand. The starting official is a stern-faced man named Cleanthus, whose job is to ensure fair starts while maintaining the dramatic tension that Olympic competition requires. He has been officiating races for over a decade, and his ability to read athletes' readiness and maintain control over highly charged situations has made him one of the most respected judges in the Olympic system. Runners, take your marks, he calls in a voice that carries clearly across the stadium despite the crowd noise. You and your 7 competitors move into position behind the starting line, each finding the stone grooves that will provide the best leverage for your individual starting technique. The crouch start that modern sprinters use is unknown in ancient Greece. Instead, you stand upright with one foot slightly ahead of the other, your weight balanced and ready to explode forward at the starting signal. Your arms hang loose at your sides, ready to pump vigorously once the race begins. Every muscle in your body is coiled and ready, like a spring compressed to its maximum. Tension. Steady, Cleanthus continues, and you can feel your heart hammering against your ribs as adrenaline floods your system. The crowd noise seems to fade into the distance as your attention narrows to focus exclusively on the official and the moment of release that will unleash months of preparation into 30 seconds of maximum effort. The weighing seems eternal, though it probably lasts only a few seconds. Your nervous system is wound so tight that time seems to slow down, allowing you to notice details that would normally escape attention. The texture of the sand beneath your feet, the sound of your own breathing, the subtle movements of competitors preparing for their own explosive starts. When the starting signal finally comes, a sharp blast from a bronze trumpet, your body reacts before your mind can process the sound. The countless hours of start practice have programmed an automatic response that bypasses conscious thought, launching you forward with the kind of explosive power that separates Olympic athletes from ordinary competitors. The first few strides are crucial in a race this short. You must generate maximum acceleration while maintaining the balance and technique that will allow you to reach and sustain top speed. The margin for error is non-existent. A slight stumble, a fractional delay in reaction time, or a minor technical flaw can mean the difference between victory and elimination. Your peripheral vision shows the other athletes matching your acceleration, their bodies straining to generate the same explosive power that you're producing. The race becomes a test of who is prepared most thoroughly, whose technique is most efficient, and whose will to win is strongest when the pressure reaches its peak. By the 50-meter mark, the field has spread out slightly, with the strongest starters opening small advantages that may prove decisive. You're in good position, running smoothly, and feeling the kind of fluid power that indicates your preparation has been successful. Your technique feels automatic and efficient. Your breathing is controlled, and your concentration is complete. The middle section of the race, from 50 to 150 meters, is where tactical intelligence becomes as important as raw speed. You must maintain your maximum pace while positioning yourself for a strong finish, avoiding the kind of early move that burns energy you'll need in the final meters. At the same time, you cannot afford to fall too far behind runners who may have the tactical advantage of clear lanes for their finishing kicks. The pain begins around the 100-meter mark. As your muscles start to accumulate the metabolic byproducts of maximum effort, your legs feel heavy and increasingly difficult to control. Your breathing becomes labored, and your technique begins to deteriorate slightly as fatigue affects your neuromuscular coordination. But this is where months of brutal training pay dividends. Your body has been conditioned to function effectively, even when flooded with lactate and depleted of oxygen. Your technique has been practiced so extensively that it remains functional even when your conscious mind can no longer make fine adjustments. Your will to continue has been hardened through countless training sessions that pushed you beyond what seemed like your breaking point. The final 50 meters transform the race into something approaching controlled violence. Every athlete is running at his absolute limit, technique breaking down slightly as bodies pushed to their maximum begin to rebel against the demands being placed on them. This is where character is more important than conditioning, where the athlete with the strongest will to win can overcome small disadvantages in speed or position. You can sense other runners beginning to tie up slightly, their strides becoming less fluid as fatigue compromises their form. But you can also feel your own body reaching the edge of its capabilities, your legs becoming increasingly difficult to control and your breathing approaching the ragged gasps that indicate maximum effort. The finish line seems both impossibly distant and rushing toward you with terrifying speed. You know that the race will be decided in the final few strides, that months of preparation will be judged in the next few seconds, and that there will be no opportunity to recover from mistakes or tactical errors. With 20 meters remaining, you can see that the race will be extremely close, with 3 or 4 athletes separated by no more than a few feet. Your position is good, but not commanding, leaving you with the choice between maintaining your current pace and hoping it's enough, or risking everything on a final surge that might provide victory or might cause you to tie up and lose ground to more conservative competitors. The decision makes itself as your competitive instincts override rational calculation. You find another deer that you didn't know existed, summoning reserves of speed and power that surprise even you. Your stride lengthens and quickens simultaneously. Your arms pump with renewed vigor, and your entire body commits to an effort that transcends your normal limitations. The final 10 meters pass in a blur of maximum effort, crowd noise, and the kind of intense focus that eliminates everything except the immediate demands of running as fast as humanly possible. You lean forward at the finish line, using a technique that might gain you the few centimeters that separate victory from defeat. The finish is so close that even the experienced Olympic judges require several minutes of consultation before declaring the results. You stand doubled over, hands on your knees, fighting to regain normal breathing while you're nervous. System slowly downshifts from the maximum activation required for sprinting. Your legs feel like water. Your heart is hammering irregularly, and your vision is slightly blurred from the oxygen debt accumulated during 30 seconds of all-out effort. Around you, the other competitors are experiencing their own versions of post-race recovery, some celebrating provisional victories while others contemplate the possibility that years of training have ended in defeat decided by fractions of seconds. The crowd is buzzing with excitement and debate about the finish, their voices creating a constant background roar that makes conversation difficult. Cleanthus, the chief judge, finally raises his arm to signal that a decision has been reached. The crowd gradually quiets as spectators realize that the official results are about to be announced. Your heart rate, which had finally begun to return to normal, suddenly accelerates again as you prepare to learn whether your Olympic dream has been realized or shattered. The winner of the stadium, Cleanthus, calls in a voice that carries throughout the stadium, representing the island of Aegina. The pause seems to last forever as he consults his notes one final time. Is the athlete known to us as Nicias, son of Demetrius? The sound that erupts from your throat is something between a shout of joy and a sob of relief. Years of training, months of sacrifice, and a lifetime of dreaming have culminated in this moment of ultimate vindication. You have not just won an Olympic event, you have won the stadium, the most prestigious foot race in the Games, the event that will define your identity for the rest of your life. As you take your position for the preliminary heat that will determine whether you advance to the final, you can feel your heart rate climbing toward levels that would concern modern sports physicians. Your breathing becomes shallow and rapid. As your nervous system prepares for maximum effort, the crowd noise fades into a dull roar as your attention narrows to focus exclusively on the tactical and physical demands ahead. The other athletes in your heat appear equally ready, their bodies gleaming with oil and sweat, their faces set in expressions of grim determination. There will be no friendly conversation or mutual encouragement. Everyone understands that only the fastest qualifiers will advance, and that friendships have no place in Olympic competition. The official raises his arm to signal the approaching start, and you make the final adjustments to your position and mental preparation. Years of training, months of sacrifice, and a lifetime of dreams are about to be decided in less than 30 seconds of all-out effort. The moment you have trained for, suffered for, and dreamed about is finally at hand. The starting official is a stern-faced man named Cleanthus, whose job is to ensure fair starts while maintaining the dramatic tension that Olympic competition requires. He has been officiating races for over a decade, and his ability to read athletes' readiness and maintain control over highly charged situations has made him one of the most respected judges in the Olympic system. Runners, take your marks, he calls in a voice that carries clearly across the stadium despite the crowd noise. You and your 7 competitors move into position behind the starting line, each finding the stone grooves that will provide the best leverage for your individual starting technique. The crouch start that modern sprinters use is unknown in ancient Greece. Instead, you stand upright with one foot slightly ahead of the other, your weight balanced and ready to explode forward at the starting signal. Your arms hang loose at your sides, ready to pump vigorously once the race begins. Every muscle in your body is coiled and ready, like a spring compressed to its maximum. Tension. Steady, Cleanthus continues, and you can feel your heart hammering against your ribs as adrenaline floods your system. The crowd noise seems to fade into the distance as your attention narrows to focus exclusively on the official, and the moment of release that will unleash months of preparation into 30 seconds of maximum effort. The weighing seems eternal, though it probably lasts only a few seconds. Your nervous system is wound so tight that time seems to slow down, allowing you to notice details that would normally escape attention. The texture of the sand beneath your feet, the sound of your own breathing, the subtle movements of competitors preparing for their own explosive starts. When the starting signal finally comes, a sharp blast from a bronze trumpet, your body reacts before your mind can process the sound. The countless hours of start practice have programmed an automatic response that bypasses conscious thought, launching you forward with the kind of explosive power that separates Olympic athletes from ordinary competitors. The first few strides are crucial in a race this short. You must generate maximum acceleration while maintaining the balance and technique that will allow you to reach and sustain top speed. The margin for error is non-existent. A slight stumble, a fractional delay in reaction time, or a minor technical flaw can mean the difference between victory and elimination. Your peripheral vision shows the other athletes matching your acceleration, their bodies straining to generate the same explosive power that you're producing. The race becomes a test of who is prepared most thoroughly, whose technique is most efficient, and whose will to win is strongest when the pressure reaches its peak. By the 50-meter mark, the field has spread out slightly, with the strongest starters opening small advantages that may prove decisive. You're in good position, running smoothly, and feeling the kind of fluid power that indicates your preparation has been successful. Your technique feels automatic and efficient. Your breathing is controlled, and your concentration is complete. The middle section of the race, from 50 to 150 meters, is where tactical intelligence becomes as important as raw speed. You must maintain your maximum pace while positioning yourself for a strong finish, avoiding the kind of early move that burns energy you'll need in the final meters. At the same time, you cannot afford to fall too far behind runners who may have the tactical advantage of clear lanes for their finishing kicks. The pain begins around the 100-meter mark. As your muscles start to accumulate the metabolic byproducts of maximum effort, your legs feel heavy and increasingly difficult to control. Your breathing becomes labored, and your technique begins to deteriorate slightly as fatigue affects your neuromuscular coordination. But this is where months of brutal training pay dividends. Your body has been conditioned to function effectively, even when flooded with lactate and depleted of oxygen. Your technique has been practiced so extensively that it remains functional even when your conscious mind can no longer make fine adjustments. Your will to continue has been hardened through countless training sessions that pushed you beyond what seemed like your breaking point. The final 50 meters transform the race into something approaching controlled violence. Every athlete is running at his absolute limit, technique breaking down slightly as bodies pushed to their maximum begin to rebel against the demands being placed on them. This is where character is more important than conditioning, where the athlete with the strongest will to win can overcome small disadvantages in speed or position. You can sense other runners beginning to tie up slightly, their strides becoming less fluid as fatigue compromises their form. But you can also feel your own body reaching the edge of its capabilities, your legs becoming increasingly difficult to control and your breathing approaching the ragged gasps that indicate maximum effort. The finish line seems both impossibly distant and rushing toward you with terrifying speed. You know that the race will be decided in the final few strides, that months of preparation will be judged in the next few seconds, and that there will be no opportunity to recover from mistakes or tactical errors. With 20 meters remaining, you can see that the race will be extremely close, with 3 or 4 athletes separated by no more than a few feet. Your position is good, but not commanding, leaving you with the choice between maintaining your current pace and hoping it's enough, or risking everything on a final surge that might provide victory or might cause you to tie up and lose ground to more conservative competitors. The decision makes itself as your competitive instincts override rational calculation. You find another deer that you didn't know existed, summoning reserves of speed and power that surprise even you. Your stride lengthens and quickens simultaneously. Your arms pump with renewed vigor, and your entire body commits to an effort that transcends your normal limitations. The final 10 meters pass in a blur of maximum effort, crowd noise, and the kind of intense focus that eliminates everything except the immediate demands of running as fast as humanly possible. You lean forward at the finish line, using a technique that might gain you the few centimeters that separate victory from defeat. The finish is so close that even the experienced Olympic judges require several minutes of consultation before declaring the results. You stand doubled over, hands on your knees, fighting to regain normal breathing while you're nervous. System slowly downshifts from the maximum activation required for sprinting. Your legs feel like water. Your heart is hammering irregularly, and your vision is slightly blurred from the oxygen debt accumulated during 30 seconds of all-out effort. Around you, the other competitors are experiencing their own versions of post-race recovery, some celebrating provisional victories while others contemplate the possibility that years of training have ended in defeat decided by fractions of seconds. The crowd is buzzing with excitement and debate about the finish, their voices creating a constant background roar that makes conversation difficult. Cleanthus, the chief judge, finally raises his arm to signal that a decision has been reached. The crowd gradually quiets as spectators realize that the official results are about to be announced. Your heart rate, which had finally begun to return to normal, suddenly accelerates again as you prepare to learn whether your Olympic dream has been realized or shattered. The winner of the stadium, Cleanthus, calls in a voice that carries throughout the stadium, representing the island of Aegina. The pause seems to last forever as he consults his notes one final time. Is the athlete known to us as Nicias, son of Demetrius? The sound that erupts from your throat is something between a shout of joy and a sob of relief. Years of training, months of sacrifice, and a lifetime of dreaming have culminated in this moment of ultimate vindication. You have not just won an Olympic event, you have won the stadium, the most prestigious foot race in the Games, the event that will define your identity for the rest of your life. But even as you celebrate, You're aware that victory comes with immediate physical consequences. Your body, pushed beyond its normal limits for months and then subjected to maximum stress during competition, begins to rebel against the abuse. It has endured. Your legs cramp violently, forcing you to sit down abruptly. Your vision becomes spotty as your blood pressure fluctuates wildly. Your hands shake uncontrollably as your nervous system tries to cope with the chemical aftermath of extreme effort. The olive wreath that is placed on your head, the only prize awarded to Olympic victors, feels surprisingly heavy despite weighing almost nothing. But you understand that this simple crown represents something far more valuable than gold or silver. It marks you as an Olympic champion, a status that will transform every aspect of your life and echo through history long after your death. The immediate celebration is brief and somewhat subdued. Olympic victories are considered gifts from the gods. An excessive celebration might be seen as impious or presumptuous. You offer prayers of thanks to Zeus and to Hermes, the god who watches over athletes, acknowledging that your victory was possible only through divine favor and protection. Your trainer, Menander, allows himself a rare smile as he helps you through the post-competition recovery process. His percentage of any prize money you'll earn has just increased dramatically. But more importantly, his reputation as a trainer has been enhanced by your success. Future students will seek him out based on his ability to prepare an Olympic champion. But as the immediate euphoria of victory begins to fade, you start to understand the physical price you've paid for Olympic success. The training regimen that prepared you for this moment has left your body damaged in ways that will affect you for the rest of your life. Your joints ache constantly from years of high-impact training. Your muscles are marked with scars from injuries that were never allowed to heal properly. Your respiratory system has been compromised by training in dusty, poorly ventilated facilities. The psychological cost is equally significant. The single-minded focus required for Olympic success has left you poorly prepared for normal adult life. You have few skills outside of running, limited education, and no experience with the kind of relationships and responsibilities that characterize mature existence. Your entire identity is built around athletic achievement that will inevitably fade as you age. Still, in the immediate aftermath of victory, these concerns seem distant and manageable. You are an Olympic champion, a status that brings wealth, respect, and opportunities that would otherwise be impossible for someone of your social background. Cities will compete to honor you with parades and prizes. Wealthy patrons will seek to associate themselves with your success. Your hometown will probably erect a statue commemorating your achievement. The victory ceremony, held later that day, provides your first taste of what Olympic success means in practical terms. You stand on the victor's platform while crowds cheer and officials make speeches praising your achievement. The olive wreath is formally presented by a priest of Zeus, who reminds everyone present that athletic victory is a form of divine blessing. That reflects the god's approval of your character and worthiness. But even during this celebration, you notice the disappointed faces of competitors who trained just as hard as you did, but fell short of victory by margins too small to measure accurately. Their years of sacrifice have ended in defeat that feels crushing despite their extraordinary level of achievement. Tomorrow they will begin the long journey home, carrying the knowledge that their Olympic dreams are over and that they must somehow rebuild their lives around more ordinary pursuits. The contrast between victory and defeat in Olympic competition is stark and unforgiving. There are no participation medals, no recognition for personal bests or valiant efforts that fall short of victory. The only thing that matters is crossing the finish line first, and athletes who fail to do so face not just personal disappointment, but potential social disgrace and economic hardship. As night falls and the celebration continues around you, you find yourself thinking about the competitors who didn't qualify for the finals, the athletes who were eliminated in preliminary heats, and the countless young men throughout the Greek world who dreamed of Olympic success but never came close to achieving it. Your victory is built not just on your own efforts, but on the failures of others who trained just as hard but lacked the final margin of speed, technique, or luck that separates champions from the forgotten. In the days following your victory, you begin to understand that Olympic success brings not just rewards, but also responsibilities and pressures that complicate your life in unexpected ways. The simple identity of athlete in training is replaced by the more complex role of Olympic champion, with all the social, political, and economic implications that status entails. Your hometown of Aegina has declared a public holiday to celebrate your victory, and arrangements are being made for a triumphal procession when you return from Olympia. The city council has voted to award you a substantial monetary prize, a house and lifetime exemption from taxes and military service. A local sculptor has been commissioned to create a statue that will stand in the main square, ensuring that your achievement is remembered for generations. But these honors come with expectations that extend far beyond athletic performance. As an Olympic champion, you are expected to serve as a model citizen, to support civic projects, to represent your city at diplomatic functions, and to use your fame in ways that benefit your community. Your personal life is no longer private, and your behavior will be scrutinized as an example for young men who aspire to athletic success. The financial rewards of Olympic victory are substantial, but also complex. While the olive wreath itself has no monetary value, victory brings access to prize money from wealthy patrons, appearance fees for competitions, and endorsement opportunities. That can provide comfortable income for years. However, these opportunities require careful navigation of political, relationships, and social obligations that can be as demanding as athletic training. Wealthy Greeks compete to associate themselves with your success, offering sponsorship deals that provide income in exchange for exclusive relationships and public appearances. Some offers are genuine expressions of admiration for your achievement, but others are calculated investments in the political and social capital that Olympic champions represent. The most lucrative opportunities come from cities other than your own, who offer substantial sums for you to compete under their banners in future events. This practice, known as athletic citizenship, is controversial but legal, allowing successful athletes to essentially sell their competitive services to the highest bidder. The income can be enormous, but the practice raises questions about loyalty and authenticity that trouble some Olympic champions. Training opportunities also change dramatically after Olympic victory. The harsh, Spartan conditions that prepared you for success are replaced by more comfortable arrangements funded by wealthy patrons who want to be associated with continued success. Better food, superior equipment, and expert medical care become available. But these improvements come at the cost of the hunger and desperation that may have been crucial to your original achievement. Your relationship with other athletes becomes more complex as former training partners and competitors adjust to your new status. Some maintain genuine friendships despite the changed dynamics, but others struggle with envy or disappointment that affects their interactions with you. The athlete community is small and competitive, and success can create isolation as much as celebration. The psychological adjustments required for post-Olympic life are perhaps the most challenging aspect of victory. For years, your entire existence has focused on a single goal, winning Olympic competition. Now that the goal has been achieved, you must find new purposes and motivations that can provide meaning and direction for the rest of your life. Some Olympic champions successfully transition to coaching careers, passing their knowledge to new generations of athletes while maintaining involvement in the sport that defined their youth. Others pursue business or political opportunities that leverage their fame and connections. A few simply retire to comfortable lives funded by their Olympic earnings, focusing on family and personal interests that were impossible to pursue during their competitive careers. But many struggle with the transition, finding that nothing else in life provides the intense satisfaction and clear purpose that characterized their athletic pursuits. The everyday challenges of business, politics, or family life can seem mundane compared to the dramatic intensity of Olympic competition. Some former champions develop drinking problems or engage in reckless behavior as they search for experiences that can match the emotional highs of athletic success. The physical consequences of your Olympic career also become more apparent as the immediate euphoria of victory fades. Years of intensive training have left your body damaged in ways that will affect your health and mobility for decades. Joint problems that were manageable during your competitive years become increasingly painful and limiting. Injuries that you trained through because stopping would have meant missing Olympic opportunities now require medical attention that may not be fully effective. Sleep becomes difficult as your nervous system, conditioned for years to high levels of stress and activation, struggles to adapt to a more relaxed lifestyle. Your appetite and digestion are affected by the extreme dietary practices that were part of your training regimen. Your social skills, underdeveloped during years of single-minded focus on athletics, prove inadequate for the complex relationships that adult life requires. Despite these challenges, you recognize that Olympic victory has provided opportunities and experiences that would have been impossible otherwise. You have tested the absolute limits of human performance, achieved something that fewer than one person in a million ever accomplishes, and earned a form of immortality that will outlast your physical existence. As you prepare to leave Olympia and return to your transformed life, you reflect on the journey that brought you from a local festival competitor to an Olympic champion. The price has been enormous: years of your youth, damage to your body, sacrifice of normal relationships and experiences, and psychological stress that will affect you permanently. But standing in the sacred grove where gods and mortals meet through athletic competition, wearing the olive crown that marks you as one of history's chosen few, you understand that the price was worth paying. You have achieved something that transcends normal human limitations, touched a level of excellence that connects you to the divine, and created a legacy that will inspire others long after your competitive career is over. The religious dimensions of Olympic competition extend far beyond the ceremonial oaths and victory celebrations that mark the beginning and end of the Games. For ancient Greeks, athletic competition is fundamentally a form of worship, a way of honoring the gods through displays of human excellence that approach divine perfection. Your victory is not just a personal achievement, but a religious experience that connects you to powers greater than yourself. The sanctuary of Olympia is sacred to Zeus, but it also honors dozens of other gods and heroes who watch over various aspects of athletic competition. Hermes protects runners and wrestlers. Ares inspires boxers and warriors. Apollo blesses those who pursue excellence in all its forms. Each athlete competes not just for personal glory, but as a representative of divine forces that guide and protect human achievement. Your pre-competition rituals included sacrifices and prayers that were not mere formalities, but genuine attempts to communicate with supernatural powers that could influence the outcome of your race. The ram you sacrificed to Zeus cost more than most Greeks earn in a month, but the investment was considered essential for securing divine favor and protection during competition. The olive crown that marks your victory is not just a symbol, but a sacred object that connects you permanently to the gods honored at Olympia. The olive tree from which these wreaths are cut is said to have been planted by Heracles himself, and wearing its leaves makes you a participant in mythic traditions that extend back to the heroic age of Greek legend. But the sacred aspects of Olympic competition exist alongside more mundane considerations that can compromise the spiritual purity that the Games are supposed to represent. The enormous sums of money involved in Olympic success create temptations and pressures that sometimes lead athletes away from the religious principles that should guide their efforts. Bribery is a constant concern at Olympic competitions, despite the severe penalties imposed on athletes caught attempting to fix results. Wealthy individuals and city-states offer substantial sums to athletes who might be willing to lose deliberately, creating markets for Olympic outcomes that undermine the integrity of competition. The temptations are enormous, especially for athletes whose backgrounds provide few opportunities for financial security outside of athletic success. Match-fixing schemes are sophisticated and difficult to detect, involving networks of gamblers, athletes, trainers, and even officials who coordinate their efforts to manipulate results in ways that generate profits while avoiding detection. Athletes who participate in these schemes risk not just disqualification, but permanent exile from Olympic competition, and social disgrace that extends to their families and communities. The pressure to use performance-enhancing substances creates additional ethical dilemmas for athletes who want to compete honorably but fear being disadvantaged by competitors who are less scrupulous. While the range of available substances is limited compared to modern options, ancient Greek athletes experiment with various herbs, wines, and dietary supplements that they believe might provide competitive advantages. Some athletes consume large quantities of wine before competition, believing that alcohol thins the blood and improves circulation in ways that enhance performance. Others use stimulant herbs that increase alertness and energy, though often at the cost of increased heart rate and blood pressure that can be dangerous. During maximum effort, dietary manipulation is common, with athletes experimenting with extreme eating patterns that are supposed to optimize performance for specific events. Sprinters often fast for days before competition, believing that empty stomachs allow for maximum speed and agility. Distance runners consume enormous quantities of certain foods, hoping to store energy that will sustain them through longer events. The medical supervision of these practices is minimal and based more on tradition than on scientific understanding. Athletes who become ill or injured from performance-enhancing substances rarely receive effective treatment, and deaths from overdoses or adverse reactions are not uncommon. Training methods also push athletes beyond what modern sports medicine would consider safe limits. But the pressure to achieve Olympic success motivates competitors to accept risks that would be unthinkable in other contexts. The warrior culture that shapes Greek attitudes toward competition values courage and risk-taking above safety and longevity. Your own training included practices that you now recognize were dangerous and potentially harmful to your long-term health. The dehydration techniques used to achieve optimal body weight for competition left you dizzy and weak. The impact training that prepared your legs for sprinting caused stress fractures that you ran through because stopping would have meant missing competition opportunities. Sleep deprivation was used deliberately to test your ability to perform under adverse conditions. But it also compromised your immune system and cognitive function in ways that made you more susceptible to illness and injury. The psychological stress techniques that hardened your competitive mentality also created anxiety and depression that will affect your emotional well-being for years. But despite these compromises and dangers, you maintain a deep respect for the religious traditions that give Olympic competition its ultimate meaning and significance. Your victory was achieved through a combination of human effort and divine favor, and acknowledging both aspects is essential for understanding what you have accomplished. The sacrifices you made, physical, psychological, and spiritual, were offerings to gods who demand excellence from their human servants. The pain you endured was a form of worship, a demonstration of your willingness to transcend ordinary human limitations in pursuit of divine approval. Your competitors, even those who used questionable methods or compromised their integrity in various ways, were also participants in this sacred drama. Their failures and compromises do not diminish the religious significance of competition itself, but they do illustrate the tension between human weakness and divine expectations that characterizes all religious experience as you prepare to leave Olympia and return to ordinary life. You carry with you not just the olive crown that marks your victory, but also the knowledge that you have participated in something that transcends normal human experience. You have competed in the presence of gods, achieved a form of excellence that approaches divine perfection, and earned a place in traditions that connect you to the greatest heroes and athletes in Greek history. Olympic victory grants you membership in one of the most exclusive fraternities in the ancient world, the community of Olympic champions whose achievements have earned them a form of immortality that transcends their mortal existence. This brotherhood includes warriors, kings, philosophers, and ordinary citizens who share the common bond of having achieved the highest level of athletic excellence possible for human beings. Your fellow Olympic champions represent the diverse cross-section of Greek society, but they are united by shared experiences that create understanding and camaraderie impossible to achieve in other ways. Only another Olympic victor can truly comprehend the sacrifices required for such achievement, the pressure of performing under ultimate stakes, and the complex mixture of satisfaction and emptiness that follows the realization of lifelong dreams. Among your new peers is Milo of Croton, perhaps the most famous athlete in Olympic history, who won the wrestling competition 6 times over a period of 24 years. His training methods have become legendary, carrying a growing calf on his shoulders every day until it became a full-grown bull, demonstrating the principle of progressive overload that remains fundamental to strength training. Milo's competitive longevity is extraordinary by any standard, but it came at enormous personal cost. His body is a map of wrestling injuries, broken bones that healed improperly, joint damage from years of grappling, and neurological problems from repeated head trauma. Yet he continues to compete and train, driven by an obsession with athletic achievement that has consumed his entire adult life. Another remarkable champion is Diagoras of Rhodes, whose boxing victories made him wealthy enough to sponsor his own son's athletic careers. His story illustrates both the opportunities and the complications that Olympic success can create. His wealth allowed his family to achieve social status that would have been impossible otherwise, but it also created pressures and expectations that affected every aspect of their lives. Diagoras watched his son, Damagitis, win Olympic boxing championships, then saw his grandson, Pesarodos, achieve similar success. 3 generations of Olympic victors should have been a source of pure pride. But the family's athletic achievements also attracted political enemies who resented their prominence and sought to undermine their influence. The stories shared among Olympic champions often focus not on their moments of triumph, but on the struggles, sacrifices, and close calls that preceded their victories. These are men who understand that Olympic success depends as much on luck and timing as on preparation and ability, and they respect the narrow margins that separate champions from those who fall just short. You learn about athletes who dominated their sports for years only to lose Olympic finals to competitors who peaked at exactly the right moment. You hear about champions whose victories were so narrow that different judges might have declared different winners. You discover that even the most successful athletes struggled with doubt, fear, and the constant pressure to maintain standards of performance that push human capabilities to their limits. The camaraderie among Olympic champions extends beyond shared athletic experiences to mutual support for the challenges of post-competitive life. Former champions provide advice about managing wealth, navigating political relationships, and finding purposes that can provide meaning after the intensity of competitive athletics. Some champions transition successfully to coaching careers, using their knowledge and reputation to prepare new generations of athletes. The credibility that comes with Olympic victory makes them attractive to wealthy families seeking the best possible training for their athletic sons. And the income from coaching can provide comfortable livings for former competitors whose competitive careers have ended. Others pursue business opportunities that leverage their fame and connections. Olympic champions have access to social and political networks that would be impossible for ordinary citizens to enter. And successful athletes often parlay this access into profitable ventures in trade, manufacturing, or finance. Political careers represent another common path for former Olympic champions, whose fame and respect make them attractive candidates for public office. Citizens who might be skeptical of politicians' claims and promises are often willing to trust men whose athletic achievements demonstrate their character and determination. But the transition from competitive athletics to other pursuits is not always smooth or successful. The intensity and focus that enable Olympic success can become liabilities in civilian life, where compromise, patience, and collaboration are often more valuable than the single-minded pursuit of victory that characterizes athletic competition. Some former champions struggle with alcohol or gambling, seeking the excitement and risk that competitive athletics once provided. Others become bitter and resentful, unable to find satisfaction in achievements that seem mundane compared to Olympic victory. A few simply withdraw from public life, preferring isolation to the constant comparisons with their athletic primes that social interaction inevitably involves. The physical consequences of Olympic-level training also create bonds among champions who understand the long-term costs of athletic excellence in ways that ordinary citizens cannot. Joint problems, chronic pain, and mobility limitations are common among former champions, who often share information about treatments and coping strategies that might provide relief. Sleep disorders, digestive problems, and psychological issues related to the extreme stress of elite competition are also frequent topics of conversation among former champions. The Brotherhood provides a support network for dealing with problems that are poorly understood by physicians and impossible to explain to people who have not experienced similar stresses. Despite these challenges, membership in the community of Olympic champions provides a form of identity and purpose that extends far beyond athletic achievement. You are part of a tradition that stretches back centuries and will continue long after your death, connected to heroes and legends whose names are known throughout the Greek world. Your victory has earned you not just temporary fame, but permanent inclusion in the stories and myths that define Greek culture. Future generations will learn your name and achievements. Artists will depict your victory in sculptures and paintings, and poets will celebrate your success in verses that may survive longer than the civilization that created them. As months pass after your Olympic victory, the true cost of achieving athletic perfection becomes increasingly apparent in ways that were not obvious during the euphoria of competition and immediate celebration. The human body is not designed to withstand the kind of stress and trauma that Olympic-level training requires, and the damage accumulates over years in ways that become impossible to ignore or minimize. Your joints, subjected to thousands of hours of high-impact training, begin to deteriorate in ways that will affect your mobility for the rest of your life. Your knees, which absorbed enormous stress during sprint training and competition, now ache constantly and become stiff and painful when the weather changes. The cartilage that cushions your joints has been worn away by years of repeated impact, leaving bone grinding against bone in a process that will only worsen with age. Your spine, compressed by countless hours of running and jumping, has developed problems that affect your posture and cause chronic pain that radiates through your entire torso. The vertebrae in your lower back show signs of compression and deterioration that modern physicians would recognize as the inevitable result of high-impact athletic training without adequate recovery and rehabilitation. Sleep, which should provide rest and recovery from the stresses of daily life, instead becomes a nightly reminder of your body's damage. You cannot find comfortable positions that relieve the pressure on your damaged joints and compressed spine. You wake frequently during the night, as pain interrupts the natural sleep cycles that your body needs for healing and restoration. Your respiratory system, compromised by years of training in dusty, poorly ventilated facilities, struggles with the kind of breathing difficulties that will worsen as you age. The lung capacity that was once your greatest asset now feels diminished. And you find yourself short of breath during activities that should not be challenging for someone of your fitness level. The psychological consequences of your Olympic career are equally significant and perhaps more difficult to address than the physical problems. Your entire identity was built around athletic achievement. And now that competitive athletics are no longer possible, you must somehow reconstruct a sense of self and purpose that can provide meaning for the rest of your life. The intensity and focus that made you an Olympic champion have become liabilities in civilian life, where patience, compromise, and collaboration are often more valuable than the aggressive pursuit of victory that characterized your athletic career. Relationships that require give and take rather than domination feel foreign and uncomfortable to someone whose competitive instincts have been honed to view every interaction as a contest to be won. Employment opportunities outside of athletics are limited by your lack of experience in normal occupations and your difficulty in accepting subordinate roles that require you to take direction from people whose achievements seem insignificant. Compared to Olympic victory, the confidence and self-assurance that served you well in competition can appear as arrogance or inability to work effectively with others. Financial management becomes a challenge for someone whose entire adult life has been focused on physical training rather than practical skills like budgeting, investing, and planning for long-term security. The substantial sums that Olympic victory generated need to be managed carefully to provide income throughout your lifetime, but you lack the knowledge and experience necessary for making sound financial decisions. Social relationships are complicated by your celebrity status and the assumptions that others make about your character and interests. Based on your athletic achievements, some people seek you out primarily because of your fame, hoping to benefit from association with an Olympic champion. Others are intimidated by your reputation and find it difficult to relate to you as a normal person rather than as a legendary athlete. Romantic relationships present particular challenges, as potential partners must navigate the complex dynamics created by your fame, your physical limitations, and your psychological adjustment to post-competitive life. The single-minded dedication that made you an Olympic champion did not prepare you for the emotional intelligence and relationship skills that successful partnerships require. Family planning becomes complicated by concerns about passing on the genetic traits that contributed to your athletic success, while also dealing with the physical and psychological damage that your competitive career has created. You want children who might inherit your athletic abilities, but you also worry about the pressures and expectations that being the child of an Olympic champion might create. Medical care for former Olympic athletes is limited and often ineffective, as physicians have little understanding of the long-term consequences of elite athletic training. The treatments available for joint problems, chronic pain, and psychological issues are primitive and often make problems worse rather than better. But perhaps the most difficult aspect of post-Olympic life is the gradual realization that nothing you accomplish as a civilian will ever match the significance and satisfaction of your athletic achievements. Olympic victory represents the absolute peak of human performance in your chosen field, and everything that follows necessarily feels like a decline or anticlimax. Business success, political achievement, family happiness, all of these are meaningful and valuable, but they lack the pure, objective nature of athletic competition, where victory and defeat are measured by stopwatches and finishing positions. The ambiguity and complexity of adult life can feel frustrating and unsatisfying to someone accustomed to the clear standards and immediate feedback that characterize athletic competition. Yet despite these challenges and limitations, you recognize that your Olympic experience provided opportunities and insights that would have been impossible to achieve any other way. You have tested the absolute limits of human performance, experienced the kind of pressure and intensity that few people ever face, and achieved something that will outlast your physical existence. The olive crown that marked your victory has long since withered and been stored away, but the achievement it represented continues to define your identity and influence your relationships with others. You are no longer just another citizen of Vagina. You are an Olympic champion, a status that brings both privileges and responsibilities that will affect you for the rest of your life. Years have passed since your Olympic victory, and your body has settled into the painful reality of life after elite athletics. The scars, joint damage, and chronic pain have become familiar companions, daily reminders of the price you paid for. Those 30 seconds of ultimate glory. But as you sit in your comfortable home, funded by the rewards of Olympic success, you begin to understand that your athletic career was about more than personal achievement. Young men from across Greece seek you out, hoping to learn the secrets of Olympic success from someone who has actually achieved it. They arrive with the same desperate hunger that once burned in your own chest, the same willingness to sacrifice everything for a chance at immortal glory. When you look at them, you see yourself as you were, young, strong, naive about the costs of excellence, but absolutely committed to the pursuit of athletic perfection. Your role as a mentor and teacher has given your post-competitive life purpose and meaning that you didn't expect to find. The knowledge and experience gained through your Olympic journey cannot be replaced by books or theories. It can only be passed on through direct transmission from someone who has lived a complete experience of preparation, competition, and consequences. The training methods you teach are based not on abstract principles, but on practical understanding of what human bodies can endure and how athletic excellence is actually achieved. You modify the brutal techniques that prepared you for Olympic success, incorporating lessons learned from your own injuries and mistakes while preserving the essential elements that produce champions. Your students learn not just how to run faster or jump higher, but how to manage the psychological pressure of competition, how to make tactical decisions under stress, and how to find the additional reserves of speed and strength that emerge only when everything is at stake. These lessons cannot be taught through explanation alone. They require demonstration and guided experience that only a former Olympic champion can provide. Some of your students achieve their own Olympic dreams, carrying forward techniques and attitudes that you developed through years of trial and error. When they win their own olive crowns and achieve their own moments of ultimate triumph, you feel a satisfaction that approaches the joy of your own victory. Their success validates your teaching methods and extends your own athletic legacy beyond your individual achievements. Others fall short of Olympic glory, but still benefit from the training and mentorship you provide. They develop physical capabilities and mental toughness that serve them throughout their lives, even if they never achieve the specific goal that brought them to you. The discipline, perseverance, and resilience learned through serious athletic training prove valuable in business, military service, and family life. But perhaps your most important contribution is helping young athletes understand the true costs and benefits of pursuing Olympic excellence. You do not try to discourage them from following their dreams, but you ensure that they make informed decisions about the sacrifices that elite athletics requires. Too many athletes begin the journey without understanding where it leads or what it demands. You share stories not just of victory and glory, but of injury and disappointment, of the athletes who trained just as hard as you did, but whose dreams were ended by circumstances beyond their control. You explain the physical and psychological prices that Olympic success extracts, the way that elite athletics can consume entire lives in pursuit of moments that last less than a minute. Your teaching extends beyond purely athletic instruction to include practical advice about managing the financial, social, and emotional aspects of competitive athletics. Young athletes need to understand how to navigate the complex world of sponsorship and patronage, how to maintain perspective when their entire identities become built around athletic performance, and how to prepare for life after competition ends. The Olympic Games themselves have evolved during the years since your victory, incorporating new events and attracting competitors from regions that were previously unrepresented. The scale and organization of the Games have expanded, but the fundamental nature of Olympic competition remains unchanged. It is still the ultimate test of human athletic capability, still the arena where dreams of glory are either realized or destroyed. Your own place in Olympic history becomes more significant as time passes. The details of your training and competition are recorded by historians and preserved in stories that will be told for generations. Artists create sculptures and paintings that depict your victory, ensuring that your achievement will be remembered long after the physical evidence of your athletic career has disappeared. The religious significance of your Olympic victory also deepens with time. You are now part of the sacred tradition that connects mortal athletes with divine excellence, a living example of what humans can achieve when they transcend their normal limitations through dedication and sacrifice. Your victory was not just a personal accomplishment, but a gift to the Greek people, proof that their culture and values can produce the finest athletes in the world. Political leaders continue to seek your endorsement and support, understanding that Olympic champions carry credibility and influence that can be valuable in civic affairs. Your opinions on matters of policy and governance are given weight not because of your expertise in these areas, but because you're athletic. Achievements demonstrate character traits that citizens respect and admire. As you enter the later stages of your life, your Olympic victory becomes less a personal memory than a historical event that belongs to Greek civilization as much as to you individually. Children learn your name in school. Poets include references to your achievement in their works. And philosophers use your career as an example of human potential and divine favor. The physical pain that your Olympic career created continues to worsen with age, but it has been joined by a deeper satisfaction with the life you have built on the foundation of athletic excellence. The brief moments of ultimate performance that defined your youth have generated decades of meaning, purpose, and influence that extend far beyond anything you could have achieved as an ordinary citizen. In the twilight of your life, as your body finally succumbs to the accumulated damage of decades spent pushing human performance to its absolute limits, you reflect on the extraordinary journey that began with a desperate desire for glory and culminated in a form of immortality that few humans ever achieve. The boy who answered the call to Olympic training could never have imagined the full scope of what that decision would cost and create. Your athletic career lasted only a few years, but its consequences have shaped every aspect of your existence. The relationships you formed, the opportunities you received, the pain you endured, and the satisfaction you gained all flowed from those moments when you transcended normal human limitations through sheer will and preparation. Olympic victory was not just a prize you won, but a transformation that changed you permanently. The physical legacy of your athletic career is carved into your body in ways that have become increasingly obvious as you age. Your damaged joints have limited your mobility for decades, making simple activities like walking or climbing stairs exercises in pain management. Your compressed spine has altered your posture and created chronic discomfort that affects your sleep, your mood, and your enjoyment of life. But you have also maintained capabilities that most men your age lost long ago. The cardiovascular fitness developed through years of training has served you well throughout your life, helping you resist diseases and recover from illnesses that might have been fatal for less fit individuals. The discipline and self-control learned through athletic training have helped you manage the challenges of aging with grace and dignity. The psychological legacy of Olympic competition has been equally profound. The confidence gained from achieving the highest level of human performance has enabled you to approach other challenges with the knowledge that extraordinary achievements are possible through proper preparation and unwavering commitment. The mental toughness developed through years of brutal training has helped you endure setbacks and disappointments that might have broken less resilient individuals. Your relationships with other people have been shaped by your Olympic status in ways both positive and negative. The respect and admiration that your athletic achievements generated opened doors and created opportunities that would never have been available otherwise. But your celebrity status also created barriers to authentic relationships, as people found it difficult to see past your athletic reputation to relate to you as a complex, flawed human being. The economic benefits of Olympic victory provided financial security that allowed you to pursue interests and activities that would have been impossible for someone of your original social status. The money generated by your athletic success funded education, travel, and cultural experiences that enriched your life and broadened your perspective far beyond what your background would have suggested. But wealth also created responsibilities and pressures that ordinary citizens never face. Managing substantial financial resources required skills and knowledge that your athletic training had not provided. The expectations that others placed on your generosity and civic involvement were sometimes burdensome and unrealistic, based on assumptions about your character that your athletic achievements did not necessarily justify. Your role as a teacher and mentor has provided some of the deepest satisfactions of your post-competitive life, sharing the knowledge and experience gained through your Olympic journey has given meaning and purpose to your later years, while helping new generations of athletes understand what excellence requires. The success of your students has extended your own athletic legacy while providing evidence that the lessons learned through competition have value beyond personal achievement. The religious significance of your Olympic victory has deepened with age and reflection. You understand now that your athletic success was not just a personal accomplishment, but participation in a sacred tradition that connects human striving with divine excellence. Your moment of victory was a brief partnership with forces greater than yourself, a glimpse of what becomes possible when moral limitations are transcended through proper preparation and divine favor. The historical importance of your achievement has grown as the details of your career have been recorded and preserved for future generations. You are no longer just a former athlete, but a permanent part of Greek cultural heritage, an example of what their civilization can produce when its values and methods are applied with complete dedication. As death approaches, you find yourself thinking not about the pain and sacrifices that Olympic success required, but about the moments of transcendence that made everything worthwhile. The feeling of running faster than you had ever imagined possible, the sound of the crowd recognizing your victory, the weight of the olive crown on your head. These memories remain vivid and meaningful despite the passage of decades. You also think about the athletes who shared your journey, competitors who pushed you to achieve your best performances, training partners who understood the sacrifices that excellence required, and champions from other events who faced similar challenges and pressures. The brotherhood of Olympic victory provided understanding and support that ordinary relationships could not match. The young men who continue to seek your guidance remind you that the tradition of Olympic excellence will survive your death and continue, inspiring future generations to push beyond normal human limitations in pursuit of glory. Your individual achievement was part of something larger and more enduring than any personal legacy. a continuing demonstration of human potential that serves divine purposes beyond individual ambition. In your final reflections, you recognize that the choice to pursue Olympic glory was ultimately about more than athletic achievement. It was a decision to live at the absolute limits of human capability, to risk everything in pursuit of something that transcends ordinary existence, and to accept whatever consequences might follow from that decision. The price was enormous: years of pain, relationships sacrificed, health damaged, and a lifetime spent managing the consequences of a few brief moments of ultimate performance. But the rewards were equally extraordinary. Experiences that few humans ever have. Achievements that will be remembered long after your death. And the knowledge that you touched the edge of human possibility in ways that revealed divine potential within mortal limitations. As consciousness fades and the final race approaches its finish line, you carry with you the olive crown that marked your moment of triumph and the deeper understanding that Olympic victory was never really about running fast. It was about discovering what becomes possible when human determination meets divine opportunity, when preparation encounters inspiration, and when the pursuit of excellence becomes a form of worship that honors both mortal capability and immortal aspiration. In the years and centuries following your death, the story of your Olympic victory takes on a life of its own, evolving from personal memory into cultural legend, from historical fact into mythic example of what human determination and divine favor can achieve together. The young sprinter from Aegina, who sacrificed everything for 30 seconds of glory, becomes a permanent part of Greek civilization, a reference point for understanding excellence, sacrifice, and the costs of immortal achievement. Historians record not just the bare facts of your victory, but the context that made it meaningful. The brutal training methods that prepared your body for maximum performance. The social and economic pressures that motivated your pursuit of Olympic glory, and the physical and psychological prices that elite athletics extracted from competitors. Your story becomes a case study in what athletic excellence requires and what it costs. Artists create sculptures and paintings that capture not just your moment of triumph, but the broader themes that your career represents. They depict the intensity of training, the drama of competition, and the complex mixture of satisfaction and loss that follows the achievement of lifelong dreams. These artistic interpretations ensure that future generations can visualize and understand experiences that are difficult to convey through words alone. Poets incorporate your victory into epic works that celebrate Greek culture and values, using your achievement as evidence of what their civilization can produce when its methods and principles are applied with complete dedication. Your brief moment of sprinting excellence becomes part of literature that will survive for millennia, carrying your name and story to peoples and cultures that don't even exist yet. Philosophers use your career as an example in discussions about human potential, divine influence, and the relationship between physical and spiritual excellence. They debate whether your victory was primarily the result of human effort or divine favor, what lessons your experience teaches about the nature of achievement and sacrifice, and how your story illustrates the tension between individual ambition and social responsibility. Your training methods and competitive strategies are studied and adapted by future generations of athletes and coaches, who modify your techniques based on new understanding while preserving the essential principles that produced Olympic success. The knowledge gained through your suffering and experimentation becomes the foundation for athletic programs that will prepare champions for centuries to come. The students you train during your post-competitive career become teachers themselves, passing on not just technical knowledge, but the deeper lessons about character, determination, and sacrifice that can only be learned through direct experience with elite athletics. Your influence extends through generations of athletes who never met you personally, but whose training incorporates methods and attitudes that originated with your Olympic journey. medical understanding of the long-term consequences of elite athletics develops partly through observation of former champions like yourself, whose bodies provide evidence of what happens when human physiology is pushed to its absolute limits over extended periods. The injuries and degenerative conditions that plagued your later years become data points that help future athletes make more informed decisions about the risks and benefits of pursuing Olympic glory. The religious significance of your achievement becomes incorporated into Greek theological understanding of how mortals can participate in divine excellence through athletic competition. Your victory serves as evidence that the gods reward proper preparation and worthy character, while your post-competitive struggles illustrate the temporary nature of mortal achievement compared to eternal divine principles. Political leaders continue to reference your story as an example of what their city-states and cultures can achieve when citizens dedicate themselves completely to worthy goals. Your humble origins and ultimate success provide evidence for the democratic principle. That excellence can emerge from any social background when talent meets opportunity and dedication. Educational programs use your career as a template for understanding the relationship between individual achievement and social benefit, examining how personal ambition can serve broader cultural purposes, while also considering the costs that such achievement extracts from individuals and communities. Students learn not just about your victory, but about the complex systems that made it possible and meaningful. The evolution of the Olympic Games themselves reflects lessons learned from careers like yours, as organizers develop new safety measures, support systems, and post-competitive programs based on understanding of what elite athletics requires and what consequences follow from such demanding pursuits. Your experiences contribute to making Olympic competition both more accessible and more sustainable international. Relations between Greek city-states and other cultures incorporate the diplomatic benefits that Olympic success provides, as your victory and others like it demonstrate Greek excellence in ways that enhance their civilization's prestige and influence. Athletic achievement becomes a form of soft power that extends Greek cultural influence far beyond their military and economic capabilities. Archaeological evidence of your career, training facilities, competition venues, statues commemorating your victory, provides future civilizations with physical proof of Greek athletic culture and its central role in their society. These material remains help historians and anthropologists understand not just individual achievements, but the cultural context that made them possible and significant. Your story continues to inspire young athletes thousands of years after your death, as each new generation discovers the timeless themes of sacrifice, dedication, and the pursuit of excellence that transcend specific historical periods or athletic achievements. The human desire to test the limits of physical capability and to achieve something that approaches divine perfection remains constant across centuries and cultures. In the end, your Olympic victory accomplished something that few human achievements manage. It created a permanent bridge between mortal capability and immortal significance, between individual ambition and universal inspiration, between the specific moment of crossing a finish line first and the eternal human desire to transcend normal limitations through dedication, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to excellence. The pain that your pursuit of Olympic glory created was temporary and personal, but the inspiration that your achievement provided was permanent and universal. The olive crown that marked your 30 seconds of ultimate performance became a symbol that continues to motivate human striving long after the leaves have crumbled to dust and the hands that placed it on your head have returned to the earth. Your legacy rests not in the records you set or the competitors you defeated, but in the demonstration that ordinary humans can achieve extraordinary things when they are willing to pay extraordinary prices, and that such achievements serve purposes larger than individual ambition by revealing the divine potential that exists within mortal limitations. The young man who stepped onto the burning sand of Olympia with dreams of glory could never have imagined that his brief moment of athletic excellence would echo through history as proof of what becomes possible when human determination meets divine opportunity in the sacred space where mortals dare to compete with gods.